to thank Google for Education, the lead sponsor for SOT 2023, their partner Tech Valley, our titanium sponsor UBL. Other key sponsors include My Backpack, MK Books, Allied Bank Limited, Habib Bank Limited, Wateen, and Interwood. We also thank our SOT supporters, including Paramount Books and Nestle Pure Life, who have contributed to this year's event. Moving to our housekeeping instructions, please ensure your cell phones are silent. Please use the SOT apps to scan the QR code for session Q&A and feedback. Share your thoughts on social media using the hashtags, that is hashtag Guardian of the Future and hashtag SOT 2023. If you need assistance, our ushers are here to help you. For questions, please either use the flashcards provided by the ushers or the mobile app. The panel discussion will last for about 45 minutes, followed by 15 minutes for question and answers. We have a panel discussion lined up on the topic, Empowering Change, Educators and Innovators Uniting for Social Impact. And the moderator is Mr. Philip Mascott. Mr. Philip Mascott is an experienced educator and innovative leader in education with over 2 decades of expertise. As the Director of Curriculum at WeLearn, he is known for his work in project-based learning, PBL, and e-learning solutions. Mr. Philip's skills encompass curriculum design, teacher training, and educational research. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Philip Mascott on stage. Sir.
On might be good. Switch it off. How's that? Okay, wonderful. Well, firstly, it's a huge honor and privilege to be here today. So thank you so much for Beaconhouse and the School of Tomorrow events for having me. So I'm super excited to moderate this session. I've actually spent a couple of days with the panelists already, getting to know them, and I have to say I'm hugely impressed, and we've been having some great discourse. So let me set the scene. Good day, esteemed guests, fellow educators, innovators, and change makers. I'm honored to steer today's dialogue at the School of Tomorrow conference, a platform where the confluence of education, innovation, and social transformation transcends rhetoric to manifest into actionable insights. We are navigating through an era where the traditional realms of education are being re-envisioned through the lens of technology. Artificial intelligence, particularly generative AI, stands at the cusp of this transformative journey. By augmenting our initiatives in civic education, it catalyzes a deeper, more nuanced engagement within our communities, driving more informed community engagement and positive social transformation. Take, for instance, the application of AI in decoding complex policy documents into simple, digestible narratives, thereby empowering individuals to engage in informed civic discourse. Similarly, AI-powered platforms like purposeful gaming are not mere recreational avenues, but potent tools for fostering a deeper understanding of societal issues. They generate immersive environments where learners can navigate through real-world challenges, fostering empathy and a nuanced understanding of complex issues. However, the path of innovation is laden with challenges, particularly when it comes to bridging diverse domains. The confluence of diverse educators and innovators beckons a robust dialogue, a willingness to embrace diverse perspectives, and a shared aspiration for enduring social impact. It's this synergy that will enable us to address key challenges, thereby redefining traditional education and advocacy models. Modern tools, from digital storytelling to climate advocacy, are imperative in ensuring our message resonates across diverse audiences. They allow us to transcend traditional boundaries, ensuring a deeper, more widespread impact. Amidst a rapidly evolving landscape, the essence of ensuring that our collective endeavors yield actionable, sustainable outcomes for communities remains paramount. Today's discussion is not merely a reflection of what lies at the horizon of educational innovation, but a stride towards making it a tangible reality. As we explore the mechanics and ethos of these innovations, we are not just envisioning a better world, but are laying the groundwork for a more inclusive and sustainable future. So now I'd like to introduce the driving questions for today's discussion. 1. How is the landscape of civic education evolving, and how can it be leveraged to drive more informed community engagement and positive societal transformation? 2. In what ways are innovative platforms like purposeful gaming and digital narratives influencing cultural and societal norms and shaping perceptions? 3. As diverse educators and innovators converge for social impact, what key challenges arise in bridging different domains, and how might they be addressed? 4. How do contemporary tools and methods, from climate advocacy to digital storytelling, redefine traditional education and advocacy models, ensuring deeper, more widespread impact? And 5, given the rapid pace of change, how can educators and innovators ensure that their combined efforts lead to actionable, sustainable outcomes for communities without compromising on the core essence of their message? So I hope that has set the scene. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our panel of esteemed guests for our upcoming discussion. So if I maybe start as they are seated. Firstly, it is my pleasure to introduce Secunda Bizenzo. Secunda Bizenzo, an economist and social impact entrepreneur, leverages his skills at Engo Corporation, a major Pakistani organization. He co-founded the Balochistan, I hope I'm getting this pronunciation correct, please correct me if I don't, Youth Action Committee, empowering local youth in underprivileged areas. Secunda is co-author of the World Economic Forum's Youth Recovery Report and serves on the WEF Global Shapers Community Advisory Council. With over a decade of experience, he's played pivotal roles in public and private sectors, leaving a significant mark in development and social impact. Recognized as one of the 7 unsung heroes of the pandemic by Bill Gates, he's also received the UK Alumni Awards 2021 and the Monash University Distinguished Alumni Award. A warm round of applause, please. Secondly, it is my honor to introduce Mariam Nusrat. Mariam is a US-based Pakistani entrepreneur in the edtech and gaming space. She's a Forbes Next 1000 list honoree and received the Clinton Global Initiative University Honor Roll Alumni Award. Mariam is the founder of Breshna.io, a platform enabling users to create, share, and monetize their own educational video games. The team is backed by strategic investors like Paris Hilton, Randy Zuckerberg, and Bill Ackman's family office. Mariam is a Beaconhouse and LUMS alumna and an ex-World Bank economist. Warm round of applause, please. Last but not least, we have Salman Tarek. Salman has a unique blend of creativity and strategic acumen. As a researcher and creative strategist, he excels in striking a balance between innovation and meeting the demands of professionalism. While changing schools and continuously failing in his early academics, Salman ended up with a distinction in his master's degree from Warwick University. He was one of the first content creators and YouTubers in the country and has gained over 50 million views on multiple videos. Currently, he's the founder and managing director for Manto Store and is leading a project of the world's first incubated orphanage. Warm round of applause, please. Okay, so I'd like to start the discussion by asking each of our panelists about your careers and how they relate to the driving questions for today. So for these opening remarks, please do keep them to approximately 2 minutes, and I know that we'll be scolded if we go over. Okay, so why don't we actually start in reverse order? Okay, so let's start with Salman. Would you like to begin your opening remarks?
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much for making me a part of this. I'm currently the managing director at Monto, and as Philip already mentioned that in my early years of education, the only thing I was consistent at was failing. And when it's a continuous pathway, it comes a time when you start questioning yourself. And throughout those questions and the journey, I realized and found that there are multiple ways people learn. And very fortunately, I found my way of learning, which may not be the otherwise conventional way, and I've stuck to it. It's kind of like a bulb opened up when I learned how to learn, and then that's what's led me to then create or get into diversified careers. For example, Monto, it's a fashion brand. I am the least fashionable person in my circle, but going through that journey of learning on how to create something has been an immense asset, I believe. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those opening remarks. Mariam, over to you.
Awesome. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am super excited to be here because Beaconhouse holds a very, very close place in my heart. I went to Beaconhouse all the way from pre-nursery to A-levels, so like true OG status. So being here is very, very heartwarming. Thank you so much to everyone for all the love. You know, when Phil talks about kind of the journey that you know education took for me, you know, obviously going to Beaconhouse was a huge edge, you know, and I think the two things that I got out of the schooling that I got, the very strong foundation was discipline and structure, right? So it's like, I think there's a lot of rigor that and now that I've had a global taste of education, having worked at the World Bank in EdTech policy across 22 different countries, I truly believe that Pakistanis have this level of grit and this structure that was embedded in me. But then, like, you know, my dad laid out the path for me in 3rd grade. He was like, you're going to go to Beaconhouse, then you're going to go to LUMS, then London School of Economics, and then you're going to work at the World Bank as an economist. And it was like, boom, 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 much like a lot of tiger Asian parents. But I did check all of those marks, and I was one of the youngest senior economists at the World Bank. But I had a lot of curiosity towards this idea of behavior change. So why are we giving a brochure? Why is it always a workshop when we want to raise awareness, we want to educate people? And to me, I grew up playing games like SimCity, where I was learning about urban planning without even knowing I was learning about urban planning. So I believed in the power of video games. And for me, it was really, really important to unleash that power. And so 2 years ago, 8 years ago, we started our gaming studio with my brother and my co-founder, who's also a Beaconhouse alum, who's in the crowd right now. So huge shout out to Rizwan. And then basically we started our own tech startup to unleash the power of gaming so that anyone can make their own video games without any coding or design skills. So I think truly the education I had laid the foundations for where I ended up. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And I think we're going to have to unpack some of this bias, right? In terms, I know you're an alumni, but let's have some robust discussion maybe later about still.
Maybe.
Okay, so please, over to Sikandar.
Yeah, I hope you can all hear me. Thank you, Phil, for the wonderful introduction and setting the scene so well. Hello, everyone. My name is Sikandar Bizenjo. I have two hats. I have actually multiple hats, but two hats I often wear. One is my professional job. So as you can see from the title, I work at the Angro Corporation as Manager External Engagements. So we look at the groups, all the international presence, our engagement with the multilateral organizations like the World Economic Forum and all of these. But that's not my only job. That's my 9-to-5 job. And my other job, which I call the real one, that starts after 5 p.m. and on the weekends. I'm the co-founder of this organization called Balochistan Youth Action Committee, BYAC in short. And we started this organization in the wake of COVID-19 when the first lockdown happened. I am from Balochistan. I'm from central Balochistan. There's a district called Khuzdar. You may never heard of it. It's the largest district of Pakistan. There's a small valley called Nala. So I'm from there. And when the first lockdown happened, we realized that people are in the dire need of help. Without thinking, without making any plan of business or any forward thinking, we started helping people with basic relief supplies. And from that idea, we have grown to, this is 4th year of BYC right now. We've grown to have more than 200 active volunteers across Balochistan, and we have been able to help more than 400,000 people. So I'm really excited to share how, thank you. I'm really excited to share how this youth initiative, not mine, it's a community-led youth initiative. So I'm excited to share how this youth initiative have mobilized young people and how we're contributing to the social change.
Thank you so much, panelists. It really is so impressive what you've all achieved, and that at such a young age. So first,
Debatable.
So first of all, you're making me feel very old sitting here, and certainly you're giving me underachievement anxiety as well. But the other thing I want to complain about, that why don't I get an AI avatar to talk to? I'm disappointed about that, because I think that everyone else got one, but I didn't get one. What happened?
I mean, sorry, Phil, but we will try to be more engaging than the AI. I think we can pull that off and say.
ChatGPT is my best friend. I even say good morning to her in the morning over breakfast.
Fair.
Okay, let's get into some of the nitty gritty now. Okay, so the next question, again, for all of you. What were your own educational experience? And you've touched on some of it, okay? But I'm talking about particular activities, particular parts of the curriculum, maybe a particular teacher that motivated you, something specific, okay? And then how well do you think the education that you had prepared you or even led you to the success that you clearly have? But maybe more importantly, what was it missing? Okay, and what would your recommendations be to people like myself, to educators, to curriculum designers, to improve and reform education for the digital age and beyond? So shall we go in reverse order now, I think? So, Sikandar, would you like to start?
Yeah, thank you, Phil, for that question. I think my early education, if I talk about it, has not been a traditional education that many of you have gotten here from the Beaconhouse or from other private institutions. So I went to a government school, a public school in Balochistan, in a small valley, and not up to that mark. And I did not realize it till I moved out of the village. We went to Karachi, and that was in grade 7th. And how I realized that our education system, especially in the government sector, is so backwards. because when I was giving the entry test of a low-cost private school, I could not clear it despite 2 attempts. So on the 3rd attempt, I managed to barely pass the test. So I realized how backwards the system is. But I'm not going to downplay the education we have gotten. I still feel blessed. I still privileged that I got to go to school. There are so many children in Pakistan who don't have this opportunity. And the reason I'm sharing all this, I firmly believe that all of us, the reason we are here, the reason I'm here is because of my lived experiences. Starting from Balochistan, going to Karachi, and all this while, all of this have contributed to where I am today. Your last aspect, what can we do? What can we improve? So many things. Where do I start? Even if starting when I was in grade 5 in the computer studies class, you would be surprised to hear that we were learning what is a mouse, what is a monitor, what is a CPU. While the world is learning about AI and machine learning, our outdated curriculum was still talking about what is a basic computer. And God knows so many other things as well. But I think very interestingly, you asked what is that pivot point? There's so many pivot points, but I want to, sitting in a school.
May I just pause you, because we're going to go on to pivot points.
No, so I'm not going to go to the pivot point.
Okay,
I'm going
sorry
to
to interrupt.
No, I'm going to talk about one specific example of a teacher, because we're an institution, we're an educational institution. I think teachers have a very, very strong role to play. Sometimes we don't even realize it. I'm going to give one example of a teacher that changed my life. This was in O levels. I got dropped out from that school because I could not compete, and I almost gave up schooling. Almost. I was on a break for 1 year, and I realized that my friends were going ahead, and then I took it up on myself. I'm like, let me give it another shot. So I gave all the O-level exams privately. I went to this English teacher called Miss Sheila, and I found her from Orkut. If you remember, there was no Facebook, there was Orkut. So we are all OGs here. So I found her through Orkut, and I went to her class. And I remember that when I first went there, she said, can you write an essay on this topic so I see where you are? I wrote an essay. And when she was looking at it, she was marking everything red. She's like, no. She's like, Sikandar, maybe come next year when we have more time. Right now, it's only 4 months to your exam. I can take a student from here to here, but I can't take a student from here to here. So you're really outlier in this class. I'm really sorry I can't take you. I went back home disheartened. And then after a few weeks of trying different teachers, I could not. I gave her a call, last final call. I'm like, ma'am, my parents have moved from Balochistan to Karachi. Just give me one chance. Let me sit in your class. Whatever grade I get, I'm happy. It's nothing to do with you. Just let me sit in class. I think she got a bit emotional that, okay, a young person's constantly asking me to take it in the class. So she asked me to come back. I sat in her class, and she would she would come to me separately. She would teach the class something different, to me something different. And towards the end, she just told me that get a C, Sikandar. If you get a C in O levels English, that is A star for me, because that is all I can aim for. And I'll be more happy for your C than I would be happy for the A grades, because I know how challenging student you are. And guess what I get? I get a C. And I was so happy. I called her. She was like, I can't believe it. I'm so happy. And I think these are some of the things that teacher can do. The first thing is just trust your students. Don't just dismiss them if they are not good in the traditional learning model.
Wow, thank you so much.
I'm sorry I took a bit of more time than 2 minutes.
No. It's a wonderful story, wonderful point. So if you don't mind, I'd like to dive in a little bit to two of those points. So talking about computer science or, information technology curricula, I completely agree with your point. And I think that we all still see the issue today. I mean, you talked about just being able to name a mouse, or a monitor. Yeah. But a lot of them these days are not much better. And they're teaching learners to use soon to be obsolete applications. That's not computer science. Yeah. And I think that needs to be radically changed. challenged, okay? It should be about the concepts behind being, computer science, the program, etc. But I'll go even further. Coding is obsolete.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that, some of the schools are just jumping on the bandwagon now, which is 10 to 15 years too late, when text to code does all that for us. So maybe we'll dive in a little bit more for that. So, Mariam, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you good to go?
I think I have a fairly good context, and I think Sikandar, once again, so inspired by your journey. Phil, my own journey, again, like I said, it is a privilege and an honor to be a Beaconhouse alum. I think that's something my parents, they invested in the best foundation that they could, given, for someone who was living in Pakistan. And I still remember they made financial decisions, tough financial decisions, to make sure that there was consistency in the education we were receiving. And for me, interestingly, I see education almost as these lily pads that you jump from one to the other, right? So, often I'll have these very humbling conversations where my mom will have some family friend whose daughter is in 8th grade, and she'll be like, I want you to talk to her to inspire her, and how does she become like you with everything? And I'm like, that is not the role model you probably want to set, because I think there were a lot of setbacks, and I feel like one thing leads to another, right? So sure, now, it's like if you look at the bios, they sound humbling, and sure, it's like, okay, tech startup founder raised $2.5 million from Paris Hilton. All of that sounds amazing. I'm super honored and humbled to be here. But I think there's the lily pads of opportunity that you find along the way, right? So it's like having that foundation in Beaconhouse, which is one of the best schooling systems in Pakistan, in Asia, globally. I've worked at the World Bank, and often in that tech policy, and this is a huge shout out to every single teacher, educator, organizer of the Beaconhouse school system, that at the policy level, at the ministries level, I have sat across from ministers of education who've said, I want something like the Beaconhouse. How do we make that happen? And I think that's a huge, huge testament to what we've built here. And I think, to me, those opportunities are really unique. However, and this is where the however comes in, there was an emphasis on discipline. There was an emphasis on the assembly line. I think, Phil, we were talking about this yesterday. We have all kinds of setups have changed. What an operation theater looks like has changed. What an industry, what a workshop looks like has changed. Classrooms across the world, I've worked across 22 different countries, they look exactly the same. And the reason for that, which Phil enlightened us, is it's a very industrial revolution aspect. Is like one teacher teaching to the 40 kids in a very boom, boom, boom assembly line, a method. And now I hear things like project-based learning, and I hear things like IB, and I hear things like curriculum that's sparking curiosity and competency-based, and that degrees are not just a signaling method, but actually based on what you're learning and skills. And I think that's where my love for gaming comes in, because I may have stronger memories of the video games I played than sometimes of the classrooms that I was in. And video games are a universal language. Our parents were fighting against video games. Like games and education were a trade-off. I don't think that's the case. I actually believe that video games can be a power, can be a tool for enhancing learning outcomes. And I think when we think about games, we think about passive playing, but actually students and teachers are the biggest content creators of the world. We're talking about snackable content. We talk about the TikToks of the world. Where is the TikTok for video games? Why are people not able to tell their stories through video games? And that shameless plug here, that is Brashna.io. For me, the mission is to empower the next 100 million people so they can tell their stories through video games without any coding, free of cost, and at lightning speed, because that's what the word means, Brashna.io. It's Pashto for lightning. But yeah, that's how it shaped my career.
Thank you so much. Well, again, so many insights there. I'd just like to take a moment to dive deeper into gaming. Fair. So I've got a question, because this is only my second day in Pakistan, okay? And I'm loving it so far. Thank you for being so welcoming. Is there a perception amongst the Pakistani parenthood that gaming is inherently bad. Is that a perception there?
Can I?
Yeah, please, yeah.
I mean, yes and no. So I think yes, but I think there's also a very strong acknowledgement that gaming is here to stay.
Okay.
That gaming is a powerful tool, and I actually think this is credit to the parents, and COVID had a huge role to play in this, right? Is credit to parents and teachers. They're looking for ways to bridge that gap between gaming and education, the edutainment gap, right? So I think I feel like parents are open to it, but I don't think that the availability of games, and I mean, granted, most games, it's like there's 1 billion video game players around the world, but only 200,000 people making games. Every game you see the New York City skyline, the yellow cab, and I'm sorry, but the white dude, right? So it's like, where is the diversity? Where are the Pakistani clothes? Where are the backgrounds? Where is the music? Where is the culture? And the only way that that's going to happen, the only way we're going to see diversity of content is if we democratize the content creation process, if we empower people to make their own video games.
Thank you, and that's actually it makes me optimistic to know that the mindset's changing here. Just to give you my context, I'm currently in Bangkok, Thailand, as you know, and the parents there are just hell-bent. Games are bad.
Fair.
And I'll just tell you a little story. I mean, it's a horrific incident. There was actually a school shooting in Bangkok a few weeks ago. I don't know if the news came here. Right. But apparently, this learner did play a lot of video games.
Right.
But, the parents were up in arms and automatically kind of blaming violent video games for violent behaviors.
Fair.
And let me state this, there's no correlation. Plenty of longitudinal studies have been done. Right. There is no correlation between playing violent video games and violent behaviors. So I think that's just one example of mindsets that we might need to change. So anyway, I want to see lots and lots of more teachers using your platform and hopefully making their way into the classroom. That will be fantastic to see.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move over. Salman, please.
My educational journey started off in a very non-traditional way. I started off going to madrasa to memorize and hifz the Quran, and unfortunately I could not because I do not have a very good memory. And then when I moved to academia, the local board also expected me, or the teachers at that particular time expected me to be as good at memorizing. So now I can draw a line between the academia and learning. So while I say that I failed in the education system, I excelled at learning different things. So at age 13, I tried to start writing stories and poems. And then I picked up a camera. I learned how to do photography. At some point, 10, 11 years ago, I started doing YouTube videos. And that was out of the curiosity to learn how some of these particular things work. And now at this stage, when I'm making a business in digital age and world, I have a much better understanding of story or the content has to be crafted, or how the pictures have to be taken, or what sort of video making will resonate with the person. So all of those sort of learnings were extremely, extremely helpful in helping me build what I'm building today. And I really hope and wish to see in the future where some of these elements of learning can be integrated to our traditional systems, because I mean, not everybody is going to have a certain sort of a pathway. And all the memory-based work is not required anymore with AI and with technology. So that is being taken care of. What we need more of is problem solvers. And problem solving, you need to understand rather than memorize, because you need to improvise, you need to critically think. And I hope and believe that the more focus on enabling students and individuals to be able to think through, to understand, would probably lead to us having much more amazing problem solvers in the future.
Thank you so much. Again, a couple of points here. So you may have heard this quote before. It's one of my favorites. I did look to see if I could attribute it to anyone, but I couldn't, which is, we should not treat our children as problems to be solved, but rather the creative problem solvers that they are.
100%.
Very true.
So I think, again, you talked about content creation, YouTubing, etc. And I think you alluded to the fact that you would like to see courses like that into the core curriculum. Would you like to elaborate on that a little?
So now the access to information is massive, and anything that I've learned for my business, I made a website myself. I don't know how to code, and but I had to solve those particular problems, and I did learn all of those particular things online. And although it does require my work, as you asked, is there anything that I missed out on? So I do not know accounting as much as I wish I would, and I would want to go back to school to learn some of those particular things where I can learn more about operation and all those sort of things. But with the availability of tech, I think when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. So if there is that element of curiosity, while that was there for Mariam, and for Sikandar, he was constantly after the teacher. The opportunity is easier to get if you are ready as well. So I think it's so much about embarking or getting people to enroll, opt in, to get the student to be curious enough to know more.
Thank you so much. I think it's so important to have the shift of focus to those competencies: curiosity, responding with wonderment, or creativity, entrepreneurship, all the good stuff. Actually, just something came to mind, and I'm going to say hi to Norman. I know he's watching us on the live stream. He sent me an article the other day, because there's a lot of talk about prompt engineering being a career. Mm-hmm. And basically, that's probably bunk, because actually it's going to get so much better that we won't need to do these intricate prompts. But how about problem posing? Yeah. We talk a lot about problem solving, but actually it's arguably a more important skill to be able to identify problems, which goes counter to those leaders that used to say, bring me solutions, not problems. Yeah. No, the ability to identify problems and to break those down into their contingent pieces is so important, because that's what a good prompt engineer does actually with AI. Okay, so the next question, again, and is for all three. I've got an eye on the time, because we've only got about 20 minutes left of the discussion. We'll get as much through as we can. Okay. So you all spoke about a particular point, in your life, whether that was through schooling or whatever, that gave you that huge opportunity, maybe that light bulb, that inspiration. Okay. So do you want to talk about a little bit more about what that pivot point was? And in addition, how can we maximize the possibility of that pivot point happening to all our young learners?
Yeah. Phil, I think just like a lot of children, I was a very curious kid as well. I think I was blessed. I lived in nature. I lived in a valley in Balochistan, and I was surrounded by animals. I was surrounded by birds, and I would always be curious, like, what are they saying? What are they talking about? How do they live? How do they get to know each other, their families and all? And I think that curiosity is still in me, and I've always been curious. If you ask me about the pivot point, I think pivot point for me was the access to education. I give you a small example. As I said, my foundation was not as strong. Even when I did my O and A levels, my grades were barely okay-ish. I think barely passed, D's and E's. I tried to attempt to go to universities in Pakistan. Unfortunately, I could not get in. So I gave the entry test for IBA. I gave the entry test for Zabist. I gave the entry test for CBM. Failed all of them. And I was just thinking, what would happen to me? What would be my future if I can't get in? I think I was lucky that my parents decided to send me outside. And what is the difference between our universities and the universities of other countries? They would value what you bring. They would value the diversity. They would value the ideas. I was lucky that I got into university in Malaysia for my bachelor's, while I could not get into universities in Pakistan. And I think that was my pivot point. And not just the education outside, but I think more importantly, it was the extracurricular activities. So I knew I still don't claim that I'm academically inclined. I may still not be as academically inclined as most of you guys would be, but I could balance it out with the extracurricular activities. In the first semester, I was a wildlife ranger supporter. So I would go to a wildlife park every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, 9 to 5, as the assistant for wildlife rangers in a park in Malaysia called Sunway Wildlife Zoo. The next semester, I was teaching kids from Myanmar who were Burmese kids, the refugees. I think all of this taught me what can I do, what is my calling, and I knew my calling is I work with people. I'm really good. I think with the masses, I'm someone who can connect with people from, let's say, Balochistan. I'm someone who can connect with, let's say, people from the World Economic Forum. And I realized that I can be the bridge between these two haves and have nots. I think that was the pivot point. And I firmly believe, Phil, it's not just me. There are hundreds and thousands of children out there in Pakistan who have the same curiosity, much bigger curiosity, much bigger drive. Unfortunately, they don't get the same level playing field. That is the unfortunate thing. If we do, we're saying Pakistan is one of the youngest countries in Asia. We have a youth bulge. But what good is this youth bulge if you're not able to give them the tools, the right skills to prosper? And I think that's something we need to ponder upon as leaders as well.
As you said, what I attempt to do is extract key points from all of this. So you talked about your skill with people, that's something that you discovered and that you've capitalized on. So could we coin that as embedding social emotional aptitudes in the curriculum? The ability to empathize, the ability to know oneself and manage one's behavior and communicating across diverse groups. Is that something that you would support?
Definitely. So, Phil, when I did my master's from the UK in East Anglia, I went to, I think, 10 to 15 CV writing workshops. And I got to know, how do you write CVs? How do you write cover letter? How do you go for an interview? How do you shake hands? How do you talk about, all of these things, these social skills? We don't tell it to people here. I've met so many of my friends who are engineers in Pakistan. They know the technical skills they're really good at, but they don't know the social skill. It's not like they don't know how to present themselves. It's something we don't teach at school at all. And I think this is very important given how fast the world is changing. We're moving to AI, we're moving to changes every week, not months or years. Every week there's a new software coming in, there's a new tool coming in. We're talking to AI avatars every day. I think this is a tipping point for us to be to do what the humans do best. It's emotional. This is something I believe AI cannot capture.
Thank you so much. Perfect. I'm going to check the time. With 10 minutes to go, should I be going on to the Q&A pretty much now? I can't believe how quickly the time's gone, but I feel that I do want to ask one more question each to you guys. So we'll make it quick. Yeah. Okay. Okay. This one's actually for Salman, and I'll come back to you, Mariam.
Sure.
Okay. So with particular reference to the work that you're doing with Manto, so how do contemporary tools and methods from climate advocacy to digital storytelling, which I think is more relevant for you, redefine traditional education and advocacy models and ensuring deeper, more widespread impacts? So how have you leveraged those, and talk about your experiences there?
So I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Technology really enabled us to do what we are doing. I don't think we would have been able to create Monto 20 years ago on multiple fronts. Number one, it lowered the barriers for us to try and test things, to create something, to tell a story, and see if the world wants to hear that. And there's so many individuals at their home that are able to do that now, and in so many diverse ways, as Breshna is also enabling teachers to create computer games and all those sort of things. So that's one front. And then the other front is whatever it is that we have built, it was all learned online. And we see a high rise in people of different ages trying to get into e-commerce, trying to understand, learn digital courses, how to code. Even when they cannot go to the school, they have enrolled themselves into different places. So I think this opportunity that the tech is creating is enormous, and it's empowered me and so many other people that, as Sikandar said, that there's so many different people that may not have had access to the same quality of education at some point as all of us had. They would also be able to listen to the same lectures, hear the same sort of information, and probably solve as important problems.
Thank you so much. Okay, so last question before we go to the Q&A. So, Mariam, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to put you on the spot because I think you've pretty much answered the question about the power of purposeful gaming, right? So I'm going to change the question. Okay, I want you to convince school leaders, school heads that they should be introducing purposeful, intentional gaming into the curriculum. And of course, it's another opportunity to plug your platform. So,
wow, Phil. Okay, so it's really funny. I was on this show that looks like Shark Tank, where they put you in an elevator for 60 seconds and you have to give your pitch for 60 seconds to like judges like Mark Randolph, who's the founder of Netflix. So I did that. So I could give you a 60-second pitch, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is kind of speak to you, how you were saying identifying the problem. So for me, what's really interesting is, again, I've seen teachers and students at work, right? And I've seen teachers creating lesson plans. I've seen teachers creating 7 million teachers are using Kahoot every single day in their classrooms, right? And when you ask a teacher, hey, do you play video games in your classroom? They're like, yeah, we make Kahoot games. And I love Kahoot. And then you ask the student, you're like, hey, have you ever played a video game? And they're like, no. And you're like, well, what about that Kahoot quiz? And they're like, no, that's a quiz. So I think there's a huge, unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation around gamification versus video games. And I think that our kids are so spoiled for choice in the entertainment space. If you look at it, the kinds of games that they have, all the way from Roblox and all of that, I mean, like for entertainment, the money that's being poured into video gaming, it's $1 billion industry. Unfortunately, you don't see that quality, right, at the education instructional level. And I think in our own small way, what we're trying to do is to remove that cost, time, and skills barriers so that it's not just studios in the West creating games, because guess what? Saudi has become one of our biggest regions because you don't find Arabic video games. On Breshna, you can make a game in any language without any coding, without any design skills, and in less than 15 minutes. So for me, I don't think it's something that's, I would feel almost, I don't want to cheat and pitch. I mean, I am very good at that. But I think what I want to speak to is just this power of saying it does not matter what tool you use, as long as you're able to have that retention, because the saying goes, show me and I will forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I'll understand. And I think Breshna is a way of involving the students and the teachers in their own journey of creating their curriculum. And so I hope you're game.
Thank you so much. I actually have a favor to ask now then, because I have the honor of being invited to one of the Beaconhouse schools in Lahore. Do you know what my PD topic is?
Games.
Yes.
Yes.
It's gamification with generative AI.
Where were you guys when I was growing up?
can I have a trial of your platform so I can actually use it in my PD session?
And absolutely. And what's better is we actually have an AI platform next to game engine. So you put in a text prompt, the whole game gets generated for you. And the best bit is there's a metaverse, a virtual 3D carnival where you get to display your games and you can monetize them. So we will absolutely be talking
That's
more. Phil.
perfect.
Thank
Well,
you
I
so
need to, get it approved by the head of school, but I think we got the go ahead.
Thanks for being game.
Okay, our schedule has kind of gone out the window because we've been having such rich discourse, but we must take some questions from the audience. So the first one we have, and it doesn't say a particular panelist, so anyone can answer. Can empowering educators actually make them innovators? That's an interesting question. So would anyone like to share their thoughts?
Sure. What even is an innovator, right? If you think about it, at least the way I define it is someone who is either deploying innovation or coming up with innovation. And I actually think teachers are in my opinion, the most undervalued. Unfortunately, the tragic truth is they're very undervalued. But I think teachers are innovators, they're content creators, they're inventors, they're scientists, they are change makers, and they are the shapers of the future. So I absolutely believe that teachers are deploying technology, they're deploying innovation, and by the virtue of deploying innovation, they are innovators.
This lady certainly knows how to play to her audience, don't you think? But I absolutely agree. Educators are innovators, coming up with, engaging, fun lesson plans, coming up with assessments, every day. That's what we do. Okay. The second question is fascinating. So I want to unpack it a bit, actually. Can social change bring in the innovation much needed in academia? Now, my first response to that is surely it's the other way round, that change in academia should be able to bring and social impact, positive social change. But then I reread it. Okay, and is it talking about how academia has been taken over by the mainstream? And perhaps, if you looked at studies, for example, during COVID, they were often funded by Big Pharma and everything like that. So maybe that's the question.
Yeah.
Maybe you're best positioned to answer that, Sikandar?
Yeah, why not? I don't know if we call it innovation, but we have a project in Balochistan that's active right now. It's called Reading Rooms Balochistan. And we started this when students were all isolated in their homes and they were asked to take online classes. While sitting in cities, we can easily log in on Zoom, we can take online classes. But people who are far away in those villages, they don't have internet. They absolutely don't have internet. If I give an example from my own village, if you send a WhatsApp, it's going to show that circle for at least a minute before the WhatsApp is sent. How do you expect a child to go on Zoom to actually listen what the teacher is saying and then absorb and then take those online classes? We didn't have a solution for it, but we came up with something called the Reading Rooms Balochistan. The idea was either establish or help those small rooms that were ignited in these different, mushrooming in these different areas of Balochistan. So right now, we have around 82 rooms, 82 libraries that we're supporting in Balochistan with over 400,000 books, and all of them, Phil, are community-driven, the youth-driven initiatives. There's no government support. There's no monetary donations as well. So what we did something very informal. So we asked our partners, our potential partners, to help us just store these donations in different cities. So we had someone from Lahore, we had Hum TV from Islamabad, we had Astor School from Karachi, and they opened their doors where donated books can reach, and then we would transport them to different areas in Balochistan to these smaller libraries. I think these are small examples of social change that we can bring in. I understand this is not the solution. In the digital age, we need to have the access, the digital access, which is the basic human right. But if you don't reach to that, this is a stepping stone, at least where students can come, sit together and talk about education. So
Thank you so much, Skander. Again, there's a couple of points there. I think you're talking about doing it kind of small scale in the community. It doesn't have to come from top down, right?
indeed. So what I tell often that our very traditional development sector model is the multilateral organizations come to you, they tell you what your need is, and they try to solve it. What we are trying to do, the community is our primary stakeholder and our leader as well. So we call our volunteers champions. We don't call them volunteers. They're the leaders in their own communities. If I speak Balochi, that does not give me a license to be a leader in every area that speak Balochi. I can only be a champion in my own village because I know the local dynamics. So I think the customization, the localization is the most essential thing.
Okay.
We are being told that it's time. I think I'm supposed to summarize. So first of all, thank you so much to the panelists. It's been a real pleasure over these last couple of days.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you so much for moderating.
And another round of applause, please, for their achievements and their contributions today. So in summary, I think that we've unpacked a lot here today, and I think it's how important those pivotal moments are in education. I think that we've all got to work together to maximize the probability of those pivotal moments happening for all our young people. I think we've talked a lot about revamping curricula to focus on these social emotional competencies and the critical thinking, the creativity. You know, I think that we're all of the mindset now that as teachers, we don't need to be deliverers of content anymore. We have more important things to do. That's to getting to know our learners and support them, right? And be role models and motivate them. And I think, you know, last but not least, it is about getting out there at whatever level you can. You know, think big, start small, make positive change where you can in your local communities, build it from there, and then really the globe is your oyster, as they say. So
Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
Guys, I also want to say Phil is a wonderful moderator and the most, I think, prepared moderator I've ever encountered. He has been preparing for 2 days, back to back.
thank you so much, guys. And thank you to the audience for your participation
everyone.
today. You've been wonderful.